dat je die nog niet had. Well, good afternoon and welcome to this session. This is what you get if you advertise a session as unsexy.
Yeah.
You get a highly motivated, focused audience, and we're really great to have you guys here because it may be announced as unsexy, but it really is an extremely important part of doing business, and that is compliance. And we were extremely happy to have two very distinguished speakers who are going to enlighten us on this topic from two quite different views. And hopefully at the end, we will have time for some Q&A to go into the depth of that. And first on, we're very happy to welcome to the stage from Deloitte in the Netherlands, Rosanne Goodijk.
Thank you. Okay, now indeed, unsexy, the topic, the most unsexy topic on the agenda, I understood. So maybe a few people will attend the session in a few minutes. But no, I'm very happy to be here. I would like to start with, yes, myself. I'm Rosanne Goodijk, partner at Deloitte, and I'm specialized in taxation. I'm also hospitality lead for tax and legal, and together with Florine Meinke, here also in the room, is the audit partner. We are leading the hospitality industry because we both have a passion for hospitality. So we like the business, we like the people, we like the industry. Today, we are going to talk about the increase in regulations in the audit, but also how to manage your tax compliance. The CSRD, see still a typo, but it's not CRSD, it's CSRD. And ESG in hospitality, also referring to the speech of Florine earlier today. And the impact of technology. And I was walking around and I see a lot of companies talking about sustainability today and talking about the impact of technology. So I think that's very good. Yeah, everybody knows, if you read the newspapers, it's about the scandals. There are a lot of fraud scandals. There are a lot of articles in the newspaper where you see that companies don't meet the requirements and are not compliant. So I think, yeah, it's something we don't like to talk about, but we can't avoid it anymore and we should talk about it. And in a sense, how can we make sure that we meet requirements? If you are not compliant, I think most of you will know the none of the consequences of being non-compliant. Of course, fines and penalties. There are a lot of fines and penalties, especially in the audit. But also there's a risk of prison time. Hopefully not for many of you, but reputational damage, but also maybe disruption of business activities is something we see in the hospitality industry. We believe that compliance is not having one person in your company having as a side task, making sure that you meet the deadlines of filing, that you make sure that you have your reporting in time ready, but it's about behavior. It's about making sure it's part of your business, that you have a person in place who likes to be working on the compliance, who is rewarded on that topic, and also who has the courage and who likes also to see what's changing in the world, to talk about it with peers from other companies, and who has discussions with his or her advisor on this. Because you see indeed the stock market and accounting scandals make it indeed a more topical topic. So I think we should start talking about it with each other. And indeed, there are so many rules. So where to start? It's a lot. I'm not going to give a college here on all the audit requirements or tax requirements we have in place. But I think it's good to understand that it is indeed not so simple. So only in the Netherlands, the compliance requirements for audits, you have to look at the Dutch law, the European regulation, but also professional standards. And indeed, you need to make sure that the accuracy, reliability and transparency of the financial reporting is okay, that they meet all the standards. But it's not only to meet all the standards and be compliant, also investors nowadays are raising questions. And although you are maybe not in the group of companies who now have to do the reporting on CSRD already, but they raise questions. How is your organization prepared for CSRD, or what are you doing with ESG? Guests also. Guests wants to see what's the hotel doing with that. There were very nice examples in the showcase of Florine, and we're making a lot of reports on that. So as Deloitte, we make industry surveys, and there you can see what also guests find important these days. Yes, your responsibility as a hotel owner. I would like to ask, who of you here is involved in the financial statements, in the reporting, in the audit? I don't think so many. There. There you go. In the end, there are a lot of things you have to think about if you are responsible. I see you nodding. I'm not going to talk about all of the items here, but I think it's important that you understand that it's not only making your financial statements, but also thinking about the disclosure notes you have to prepare. Hopefully you have help. Hopefully you have an advisor who can help you with that. Maybe you are even so big that you already need an independent auditor. But you need to make sure that you meet all the requirements. You must disclose financial statements to shareholders or maybe to the public, often through an annual report, or in some jurisdictions you have even to file them with the regulatory authorities. And in many jurisdictions, even the board of directors sign a statement in which they take responsibility of the accuracy and the completeness of financial statements. That's a big, big responsibility. And you have to make sure you keep your bookkeeping for 7 years. And we also see a lot of companies not doing that, but it's important because once you get questions, it's always afterwards. And yeah, where is it? Luckily, we have now, of course, everything digital that makes it maybe easier. But then you see maybe people who left the firm already and took it somewhere in their emails. Nah, we all have seen the examples. So I think it's indeed important, audit, but it's not the only thing. Also tax is a very important topic these days. And how to manage your tax compliance. If you see it differs per jurisdiction. I can imagine who of you has business also internationally, so not only in the Netherlands, but also abroad. Yeah, see more hands. It depends on the jurisdiction what rules are in place. That doesn't make it simple because you have to look per country, what are the rules and how do I meet the requirements there. So indeed VAT, it's a very important topic because it's a pain, it's a cost, but you get it back if you file in time and if you meet the local requirements. Employment taxes, it could also be a benefit. Tax is not only compliance. If you are compliant, if you know the rules, you can also make sure of you can make use of benefits like the 30% reimbursement ruling, which is typically if you have people from abroad working in your company on a specific topic, for example, in taxes or in the financial reporting, then they can make use of a 30% reimbursement ruling. That means that 30% of their income is not taxed. That's a very nice thing, which is used a lot in the hospitality as well. Tourist tax, also a tax people are not happy with. It's the city tax in Amsterdam is a big pain. It's a big increase in prices. Can we solve it? No, we can't. But we can discuss it with you and see why it's so different in other states, other cities, sorry. If you look more internationally, of course, you have to make sure you meet the corporate income tax return filing deadlines. But also, if you are internationally, which some of you are, you have to look at transfer pricing. What's transfer pricing? If you have people, if you have transactions between countries, you need to make sure that you have the correct pricing in place. You need to make sure that you document that in the right way, that you have a master file, that you have a local file in which you describe how's your business between the countries, who is doing what, who is taking the responsibilities, and make sure the right prices are in place. Why? Because there are still some countries in Europe, also outside Europe, who don't have a corporate income tax rate which is comparable to what we have in Europe. So you could make abuse, you could say, to have a lot of income taxed in a country where not your activities are. And you see it becomes more and more public. So you have now the country-by-country reporting for companies above 750 million revenues. And you see that they have to file a report in which they show what they have per jurisdiction. What do they have in people? What do they have in assets, in revenues? And what's the taxation locally? And you see it's now not public yet, but it will become public. So that means that people will have an opinion on that. If you have a lot of people, a lot of assets in a certain country where you don't pay tax, it could raise questions. So it's important to talk about it and don't deny it, because it could end up in the newspaper, and that's what you obviously want to avoid. How to manage it? Yeah, that is per company. You should think about it, how to manage it. Again, I would strongly advise not put it as a side task of one of your employees. Make sure it is well arranged within your organization, and a person who is curious, who likes to find out what the rules are, also is reading the newspapers, is focused on this topic and is rewarded that way. Because indeed, looking at the governance, the standards, the law, the requirements, but also looking at your processes in place, it's important to focus on this. Although it's maybe unsexy, as we understood from the topic. Look at, do you have the people in-house? Do you want to have them in-house? Nowadays we have a lot of discussions with CFOs, with head of tax. Do I want to still hire such people? Or should I just outsource it? How can I make use of technology, systems, automate things? Can I still ask my people who graduated from university to fully focus only on the compliance? Is it indeed sexy enough for people to do this on a full-time basis? All kind of questions important to discuss, because a long time it can go well and you think you meet the requirements, but then when there is a mistake and you receive the fine, or you get into discussions with local tax authorities or maybe with your investors, it's too late. Every year we have our Deloitte Hospitality Industry Survey. Very interesting. So if you want to have the full report, please go to me or Florine afterwards, or follow us on LinkedIn. And also this topic was one of the questions raised. So what are the key risks to the European and UK hotel industries, and on what time scale? And you see there that there is indeed a big risk. The shortage of skilled labor, but also the increase of staff costs is a big topic now and is a big risk. And if you go down, you see that maybe not at this moment, but in the upcoming 1 to 3 or over 3 years, you see that the increase in regulation burden is also a big risk. And also maybe not being compliant with sustainability agenda, which is not only the CSRD, but also what opinion do our guests have? How are investors looking at that? Can I get in the short term in trouble? Very important. It's a large report, but feel free to go to us after the session and see also the other questions raised. CSRD, as already mentioned, and ESG is also very important. If you leak, you have to see how you can prepare on that. And you can think now it's not important because I'm not such a big organization yet. It's a far from a bad show. I will see the best practices of other hospitality companies, but it's too late. Because now already, we see it in our firm. There are employees raising questions on sustainability. How is that topic treated internally? What do we see and how do we anticipate on that? But also the business travel. Do we see that it will decrease? Will companies go into that? And although you don't have to report on the CSRD, you have at least to think about ESG and how you can anticipate as a company on that. And we have a nice example on environmental. You don't have to do it all by yourself. Of course, in your building, you can look at sustainability and how you can make things more sustainable. But you can also ask your guests to anticipate on that. So you see, everybody will recognize when you are in a hotel room that you can use your towel for more days. There's most of the time a nice message think about whether you would like to reuse your towel for 1 or 2 days. And I don't think people are very negative about it, because if you don't like, you just ignore it and use it once. But I think a lot of guests are using it. It's the same with showering. So out of a research, we found out that if we ask our guests to take a shower of 15 seconds less, the people who hate such kind of advices will still take the shower of 7.5. That seems to be the average. But people who like it will also think about, oh, this company is thinking about that. It's about the small things. And it saves you, you see, more than 3,000 euros. So that's a very nice site. But also on social, what are you doing with that? Is there a racism? Are there people you can go to if you feel like you're not treated well? Those kind of questions come up all the time. And of course, the governance, you see new regulation coming up. How are men and women equally treated, also in management functions, etc. It's important to think about it, because in the near future, you have to report about it. This is a slide which was also used by Florine in early stage, because sustainability is also about compliance. Only thinking about is not enough. Think about how you can report on it, how you can maybe benefit from it, use it in your advertising, use it on your website. Make sure that if customers find it important to see what the company is doing about ESG, that you at least show that you are doing it. A lot of companies are spending a lot of time already on ESG, but they don't show it. A missed opportunity, I would so to say. You see that indeed in travel, a lot of customers are looking at the brands they book, their tickets, but also with hotels, that will be the case. Important to anticipate on. So what can you do? Don't make it too big. A lot of people make things very, very big. We would strongly advise, keep it small. So first define for your company what is or will be legally required and as of when. Make sure that's well communicated within the firm, and that you get the people in who really believe this is an important topic, and not because of the people find it important. It should be in your internal, so it should be a value of you. And we have a lot of young people who strongly believe it's an important topic, so find those people. What do you need to do because of your key stakeholders? It could also be that customer banks ask for specific information. Make sure you have that also defined. And what do you want yourself to contribute to a more greener, social, more fair society? That's a very nice thing to think about. Last but not least, technology. It's terrible, eh? It all sounds terrible, the compliance. I asked my AI, my Gen AI system internally within Deloitte, we have Head Start. I asked, is there a positive note? And the outcome was this. Yes, there are several positive aspects, and there came a full list of 10 topics why it is positive to be compliant. So I asked, okay, that's a little bit too long. I have a room, people just had their lunch, so don't make it too long. Can you please summarize it in 3 bullets? So my AI system did. Our system said, yes, of course you can summarize this in 3 bullets. Is there a positive note? Yes. Compliance, build trust and credibility with stakeholders. Provide a competitive edge and potentially attracting more business and investments. Sounds cool. It's also leading to operational improvements. Within Deloitte, we see AI will be a big thing. So also good to think about, how can you use this and other technology in your company? We as Deloitte, even Deloitte Audit, where you would think they are maybe not the most technical department in the world, because it is still audit. But even they say as of next year, all audits will use AI. AFM also is awake, and they also said, okay, and we have to see and to check how AI is used, and is it done in the right way? So it's not far, it's next year already. I think everybody will understand that the impact of technology on compliance is also a big benefit. Our people don't want to do the manual tasks anymore. I didn't want to when I started, but yeah, we still had to find out how to make the technology part of our business. But nowadays you can use it. Real-time compliance monitoring is already there. You can automate compliance tests, the boring tests, to make it maybe a little bit more sexy, having people working on compliance. Data analytics. Yes, tax authorities nowadays ask, are you compliant? Show me your data analytics. Show me that it is the case. Technology can help you with that. But it's all coming back on 4. Make sure that you train people and that people are aware. And I think those kind of trainings, how to use technology, how you can involve AI within your company, it's something which is sexy. And a lot of people would like to help you with that and focus on that. Okay, let's ask Gen AI again. Why is compliance not sexy? Yes, also their AI could help me and provided me the following 3 reasons. It's perceived as a cost center. Okay, I can't ignore that, that's true. It's a lot of times complex and a technical nature. Of course, that's true. And it's a restrictive image. Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's basically true. But how can we make compliance fun again? Maybe it's unsexy, but at least how can we make it fun again? And this was also mentioned in a session before, the gamification. This is something we also try to use internally. Compliance is not ticking boxes and just boring stuff and following processes every step by step. But maybe through gamification, you can make it more fun. At least the education you can make more fun. But also recognize and empower. Make somebody an owner of a certain topic. Make sure you reward a person on that. Try to make it fun. Create groups of employees who also believe it is important and who also want to create groups who find it important, because together you can make it fun. And indeed, again, leverage technology. Make sure you use technology. That will be the most upcoming change in compliance. So my key takeaway, indeed, okay, it's not sexy, but still make sure as a company you keep focused on the increase of regulations. Think about how to manage your audit and tax compliance. Make sure you have the right advisor next to you, also as a sparring partner. Make sure you look at the impact of CSRD. It will come and it will be there soon. And as long as you don't have to meet all the CSRD regulation, you still can focus on ESG and see what you can do and make sure that it is known. And focus on the role of technology. And hopefully that will help in your organization. If you want to hear more, please follow us on LinkedIn. We are sharing there all the reports we have from our surveys. And for questions, we have later on time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but let me hold the microphone and it will probably work better. My head is too big for this headset, so that's why I have to have a little support. Thank you for enlightening us. It was quite a concise approach. So there's a daunting task waiting for you to top this. Nevertheless, I would like to invite Raoul Meester to share his thoughts and angle on this topic. And please give him a warm applause. Raoul Meester.
Thank you. Thank you, Sander. I don't know if you're familiar with our law firm, but we solely focus on the hospitality industry in the Netherlands. And today I'd like to share with you the key issues our firm handled last year related to hotels. The number one topic our firm handled by far is the employment issues, but also audits by the NLA, the Arbeidsinspectie, the violation of the zoning plan, het bestemmingsplan, and preventing illegal prostitution. And of course, we also handled a lot of other cases, but on the topic of compliance, these were the key issues of last year. So what do we identify as important developments in the field of labor law? First, we notice an increase in the number of lawsuits involving summary dismissal, ontslag op staande voet. In addition, we see an increase in lawsuits involving inappropriate behavior, ongewenst gedrag. And the increase in the summary dismissal cases is mainly caused by the tightness of the labor market and hiring mediocre employees, giving candidates the benefit of the doubt. And of course, first should be considered that the employees in the Netherlands are well protected by law against summary dismissal. If you want to build a lawsuit in the future with a chance of success, it's important to clearly define in the staff manual which behavior is not allowed within the organization. But this first step, the staff manual, is not usually the biggest problem. Let me give you an example of our practice. And the hotel company in question had in its staff manual and in its protocols clearly stated that consuming alcohol during working times was not allowed. And one certain employee was caught on camera drinking alcohol during working hours. In fact, he was warned before by email. And when we went to court, he stated that his supervisor also sometimes violated this rule, and at least once the supervisor ate a bag of nuts that were meant to be for the hotel guests. And although the court found that the employee acted improperly, the dismissal was denied because the employer failed to properly enforce the staff manual. So the supervisor should have set a good example. So it's very important to communicate internally with supervisors on key positions to make clear that the need to enforce their own protocols is very necessary. And this example does not stand alone. The court sets tough requirements for summary dismissal. Let me give you a final tip on this subject. The average legal counselor or attorney sometimes forgets to mention that the employee in question has an extraordinary position within the company, including associated responsibilities. For example, the fact that the employee is an in-house emergency worker, BHV, or is listed as a supervisor on the liquor license, leidinggevende op de alcoholvergunning. So what to say about inappropriate behavior? First of all, of course, it's the employer's responsibility to provide a safe work environment. It's laid down in various legislation, and I consider you all familiar with this. And I also consider you familiar with the results of the Van Rijn Commission report and the report from Mariette Hamer. But the biggest concern right now within the hospitality industry is not whether the hotel has put up some protocols, but whether the protocol fits the company. It's a completely different question. So what do we see in practice? Almost every hotel that we assist is confronted with this issue one time or another, either because of a report that needs to be acted upon, or in the context of a labor dispute where it's raised by the employee in question, sometimes as an occasional argument. And often the protocol of the hotel has many pages devoted to describing various intermediate steps, but in practice it can be at odds with the care you want to take and the speed of action you want to handle. And furthermore, in practice we often see evidence issues in such matter. Think about situation one-on-one, and most of the time the woman says, well, I was harassed by this guy, my manager, and there were no witnesses. For instance, we had a case that where one manager was confronted by an employee. He said he kissed me in the elevator without my permission, of course. And he also stalked me. So when there are no witnesses in a case like that, how do you build your case? How do you improve your evidential position? And there are a few steps you can take. First, make sure that HR or the investigative committee talks with all personnel involved one-on-one. Also consider the other two witnesses, that's the witnesses who heard someone else saying something. And for instance, parents of the victim, spouses. And then realize it's not obvious that the victim will come along to the court hearing and wants to cooperate in the investigation. It can really lead to, well, uncomfortable situations. You go to court, but your main witness is not there. And having a court meeting behind closed doors is possible, but that could lead to refusing of witnesses to join the court hearing. So it's very important in a case like this to have a good strategic preparation and don't underestimate that. Furthermore, it's very important to communicate between HR and the management, especially when the supervisor in question may want to leave voluntarily by a settlement agreement. The management talks to the supervisor, and if the employee asks for a reflection time and you don't act immediately, it's too late for a summary dismissal. Het ontslag op staande voet is te laat. So make sure there's a good coordination between the management level and HR on this. Then something about the audits of the Netherlands Labour Authority, the Arbeidsinspectie. These instructions are really strict in the hospitality industry. It assesses compliance with the rules under the Foreign National Employment Act, de Wet Arbeid Vreemdelingen, the Minimum Wage Act, Wet Minimumloon, and the Working Hours Act, it's the Arbeidstijdenwet. It also assesses whether the protocols and RINE are correct, and special focus is most of the time on dishwashers and the cleaning staff. And hotels are fined heavily for illegal labor, underpayment and violations of the Working Hours Act, among other things. And apart from fines, it should be realized that the result of the labor inspection are public through a record accessible to anyone. It's just based in, you can see it at the website of the Labor Authority in alphabetic order. It goes without saying that proper contracts with cleaning companies must be established, but that's still not enough to avoid fines. So what can you do? Ensure the establishment of appropriate protocols, but also ensure proper verification of cleaners' identity, but also random checks during the night. Create an internal protocol how to deal with the labor authorities and what to say, how to answer question. Of course, establish a protocol of hiring new staff, and it goes without saying that there should be a proper recording of working hours. Also, the breaks, pre-work, after work, we call it voorzit and nazit, and the hours of the managers. And the protocols you have must be physically present so that the labor authority sees it on the spot. Put it in an old-fashioned binder. The moment they check up, you have it right there. Then something about the zoning plan. It frequently happens that some of the hotel activities are not allowed by the zoning plan. That doesn't involve overnight stays, but use hotel space for non-guests, For example, having parties at the hotel or eating or drinking at the hotel. There are many examples which a hotel restricts the activities under the zoning zone, so they can only offer their activities to hotel guests who sleep in the hotel. This discussion started in Amsterdam, but I'm afraid it's spread all over the Netherlands at this moment. And do you think, well, that doesn't happen to my hotel, but most of the cases it starts with neighbors who complain of nuisance from the hotel guests, and then the problems can occur because this discussion moves a few steps further to the question if the activities of the hotel are allowed under the zoning plan. Then my last subject, preventing illegal prostitution. Under various regulations, hotels have an obligation to combat illegal prostitution and consider the zoning system, but also the general local regulation, Algemeen Plaatselijke Verordening. And maybe you think, oh, that only happens to shady, shabby hotels. Well, that's not our experience. A lot of clients face these problems. You don't hear too much of it in the media because we win a lot of cases. Usually this case starts with an offer from a prostitute stating the name of the hotel, which indicates that appointments can be made at that hotel. The hotel doesn't even know. Then the officer, usually a police officer from the human trafficking team, goes to the hotel and checks to see if the hotel offers opportunity. In doing so, the hotel often appears not to be giving the benefit of the doubt. And the city, the municipality, then announce an intention to impose a penalty or to close the hotel. And the hotelier can submit a few against this, and this should address the relevant circumstances, including the protocols in place. One of the cases of the hotels where the city didn't close was in this position. They trained their staff in the right way. The staff was well informed also about the local tips from the Hospitality Board of Amsterdam. So I'm not going to summarize all of it, but you can see that in this case the hotel was not closed. But we also have cases that unfortunately the city did close the hotel. For instance, another client of ours had a poor check at the entrance, didn't keep a log for a shift change, so suspicious activities could not be reported to the person working in the next shift. Insufficiently clear to whom the staff could report suspicious situations. Things like this really mattered a lot. So these are just a few tips I wanted to give you today. If you want to know more, please check our website. And I thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Raoul. Thank you so much. Maybe you can stay here, and maybe Rosanne can join us. We have time for a few questions. I'll get you started, because one of the things I'd like to ask you is, Rosanne, you very clearly said it's important for compliance to have someone in your organization who has the responsibility. Many of the independent hoteliers have relatively small organizations. They don't have a large headcount. How would you recommend them to deal with issues like this?
I think awareness is very important. So here it's about training, making people aware. So compliance is in everything you do. It's making sure that guests are paying the bills, is that you have an administration there and make sure that that ends up in a financial statement. So, and you will find out if you ask people whether they are curious to learn about it, how they can help, how they can participate in being compliant, that you maybe find the right person. And nowadays you just hire a person and make that person being the compliance officer, while that person maybe does not have really the motivation, the internal motivation to be compliant. So make sure you find a person who likes it, and otherwise conclude that you don't have that person internally available, and make sure you have the right advisor. That could also be. It's in-house versus outsourcing.
And you're not mentioning it, and that's very good of you, but there are some companies who provide those services, I happen to know, right?
Yeah, they are, yeah.
We can refer them. Raoul, what you very clearly pointed out is how many behaviors take place in an organization and how you need to comply with all these rules. One of your clear recommendations was make sure you have protocols. If I was in the audience and I have not started doing that, what would, in your view, be a good starting point? Where would you start with protocols? Because the number seems to be endless when it comes to being fully compliant.
Well, what I would do is to ask my colleagues what their solution would be. What I also would do is to, in Holland, to contact Koninklijke Horeca Nederland. That's the second step. And then how to make the protocols really fit for your organization. And then for that part, I would hire some outside source.
So again, there, get some outside help. Any questions in the room at this point? If not, then I'd ask you for a big applause for our two speakers, Rosanne and Raoul. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining this session. In about 15 minutes, we will have... Is my sound still here? Yeah, we will have a session on the big debate between direct bookings versus OTA bookings. You can stay here or come back at 3 o'clock, but you're more than welcome to join us. Look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.